Revolt of 1857. The Indian Mutiny of 1857 was a widespread but unsuccessful rebellion against the rule of British East India Company in India, which functioned as a sovereign power on behalf of the British Crown. The revolt, it was first expression of organized resistance against the British East India Company. It began as a revolt of the sepoy of the British East India Company army, but eventually spread the participation of the masses. The revolt is known by several names: the Sepoy Mutiny by the British historian, the Indian Mutiny, the Great Rebellion by the Indian historians, the Revolt of 1857, the Indian Insurrections, and the First War of Independence by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. Cause of the revolt, political cause, British policy of expansion. The political causes of the revolt were the British policy of expansion through the doctrine of levies and direct annexation. A large number of Indian rulers and chiefs were dislodged, thus amusing fear in the mind of the ruling families who apprehended a similar fate. Rani Lakshmibai, adopted son, was not permitted to sit on the throne of Jhansi. Satara, Nagpur and Jhansi were annexed under the doctrine of levies. Jaipur, Sambalpur and Udaipur were also annexed. The annexation of Awadh by the Lord Dalhousie on the pretext of maladministration left thousands of nobles, officials, retainers and soldiers jobless. The measure converted Awadh, a loyal state, into a hotbed of discontent and intrigue. The notable British technique called the doctrine of levies was first appeared by the Lord Dalhousie in the late 1840s. It involved the British prohibiting a Hindu ruler without a natural heir from adopting a successor, and after the ruler died or abdicated, annexing his land. To those problems added the growing discontent of the Brahmanas, many of whom had been disposed of their revenue or had lost lucrative position. Social and religious cause. The rapidly spreading Western civilization in the India was alarming concern all over the country. An act in 1850 changed the Hindu law of inheritance, enabling Hindu who had converted into Christianity to inherit his ancestral properties. The people were convinced that the government was planning to convert Indians to Christianity. The abolition of practice like sati and female infanticide and the legislation legalizing widow marriage were believed as a threat to the established social structure. Introducing Western method of education was directly challenging the orthodoxy for Hindus as well as Muslims. Even the introduction of the railway and the telegraph was viewed with suspicions. Economic causes. In rural areas, peasants and zamindars were infuriated by the heavy taxes on land and the stringent method of revenue collection followed by the company. Many among these groups were unable to meet the heavy revenue demand and repay their loan to moneylenders, eventually losing the land that they had held for generations. Large number of sepoy belongs to the peasantry class and had family ties in village, so the grievance of the peasants also affected them. After the Industrial Revolution in England, There was an influx of British manufactured goods into India, which ruined industries, particularly the textiles industry of India. Indian handicraft industries had to compete with the cheap machine-made goods from Britain. Military cause the revolt 1857 began as the Sepoy Mutiny. Indian Sepoy formed more than 87% of the British troops in India, but were considered inferior to British soldiers, and Indian Sepoy was paid less than a European Sepoy of the same rank. They were required to serve in area far away from their homes. In 1856, Lord Canning issued the General Service Establishment Act, Enlistment Act, which required that the sepoy must be ready to serve even in British land across the sea. Lord Canning, Charles John, was the statesman and Governor General of India during the Indian Mutiny of 1857. He became the first Viceroy of India in 1858. The important events during the tenure includes the Mutiny of 1857, which he was able to suppress successfully, passing of Indian Council Act 1860, which introduced portfolio system in India, withdrawal of doctrine of lapse, which was one of the main reasons of mutiny of 1857, introducing the Code of Criminal Procedures, enactment of Indian High Court Act, Indian Penal Code Act, immediate cause. The revolt of 1857 eventually broke out over the incident of greased cartridge. A, a rumor spread that the cartridge of the new Enfield rifles were greased with the fat of cows and pigs. Before loading these rifles, sepoy had to bite off the paper on the cartridge, but both Hindu and Muslim sepoys refused to use them. Lord Canning tried to make amend for the error, and the offending cartridges were withdrawn, but the damage had already been done. There was unrest in the several places. In March 1857, Mangal Pandey, a sepoy of Barakpur, had refused to use the cartridge and attacked his senior officers. He was hanged to death on 8th April. On the 9th April, 85 soldiers in the minute refused to use the new rifle and were sentenced to the 10 years imprisonment. The revolt spread over the entire area of the neighborhood of Patna to the boundaries of Rajasthan. The main entries of revolt of these regions, namely Kanpur, Lucknow, Bareilly, Jhansi, Gwalior, Ara in Bihar. Lucknow, it was the capital of Awadh Begum Hazrat Mahal. One of the Begum of the ex-king of Awadh took up the leadership of the revolt. Kanpur, the revolt was led by Nana Sahib, the adopted son of Peshwa Balaji Rao II. He joined the revolt primarily because he was deprived of his pension by the British. The victory was short-lived. Kanpur was recaptured by the British after fresh reinforcement arrived. The revolt was suppressed with terrible vengeance. Nana Sahib escaped, but his brilliant commander Tatya Tope continued the struggle. Tatya Tope was finally defeated, arrested, and hanged. Jhansi, the 22-year-old Rani Lakshmi Bai, led the revolt. When the British refused to accept the claim of her adopted son to the throne of Jhansi, she fought gallantly against the British forces but were ultimately defeated by the English. Gwalior, after Rani Lakshmi Bai escaped, she was joined by the Tatya Tope, and together they marched to Gwalior and captured it. Fierce fighting followed, where the Rani of Jhansi fought like a tigress but died fighting to lie to the very end. Gwalior was recaptured by the British. Bihar, the revolt was led by Kumar Singh, who belonged to a royal house of Jagdishpur, Bihar. Suppression of revolt. The revolt of 1857 lasted for more than a year. It was suppressed by the middle of the 1858 on July 8, 1858. 14 months after the outbreak of Meerut, peace was finally proclaimed by the Lord Canning. Place of revolt. Indian leader and British officials who suppressed the revolt. Delhi leader was Bahadur Shah Jafar, Bahadur Shah II. John Nicholson suppressed the revolt. Lucknow, Begum Hazrat Mahal. Henry Lawrence suppressed. Kanpur, Nana Sahib. Sir Colin Campbell suppressed the revolt. Jhansi and Gwalior. Lakshmi Bai and Tatya Tope, General Hughes Ross suppressed the revolt. Bareilly, Khan Bahadur Khan. Sir Colonel Campbell was the suppressor. Allahabad and Banaras, Maulvi Liaquat Ali, Colonel Onsil suppressor. Bihar Kumar Singh, William Taylor. Why did the revolt failed? Limited uprising. Although the revolt was fairly widespread, a large part of the country remained unaffected by it. The revolt was mainly confined to the Doab region, Sindh, Rajasthan, Kashmir, most part of Punjab, the large princely state Hyderabad, Mysore, Travancore and Kashmir, as well as the similar ones is Rajputana did not join the rebellions. The southern province did not take part in it. No effective leadership. The rebels lacked an effective leader, although Nana Sahib, Tatya Tope, Rani Lakshmi Bai were brave leaders. They could not offer effective leadership to the movement as a whole. Limited resources. The river lacks resources in terms of men and money. The English, on the other hand, received a steady supply of men and money and arms in India. No participant of the middle class. The English educated middle class. The rich merchant traders and zamindar of Bengal helped the British to suppress the revolt. Result of revolt, end of the company rule. The Great Uprising of 1857 was an important landmark in the history of modern India. The revolt marked the end of East India Company's rule in India. Direct rule of British Crown. India now came under the direct rule of British Crown. This was announced by the Lord Canning at the Darbar in Allahabad in a proclamation issued on 1st November 1858 in the name of Queen. The Indian administration was taken over the Queen Victoria, which in appointment the British Parliament. The Indus of India officer was created to handle the governance and the administration of the country. The religious tolerance, it was proclaimed and due attestation was paid to the customs and tradition of India. Administrative change, the Governor General's office was replaced by that of the Viceroy. The right of the Indian rulers were recognized. The doctrine of lefts was abolished. The right to adopt son as the legal heir was accepted. Military reorganization. The ratio of a British officer in Indian soldier increased, but the armory remained in the hand of the English. It was arranged to the end by doctrine of the at the end to the end the dominance of the Bengal army. Conclusion: the revolt of the 1857 was unprecedented event in the history of British rule in India. It united, though in a limited way, many sections of the Indian society for a common cause. Though the revolt failed to achieve the desired goal, it sowed the seeds of Indian nationalism. Books written on the revolt of 1857, The Indian War of Independence by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, Rebellion 1857, a symposium by Premchand Joshi, The Indian Mutiny of 1857 by George Bruce Malson, Great Mutiny by Christopher Hibbert, Religion and Ideology of the Rebels 1857 by Iqbal Hussain, Excavation of Truth, Unsung Heroes of 1857 War of Independence by Khan Muhammad Sadiq Khan. That's all for this talk. 1857 concluded. Now we will start with another fresh chapter. It is conceived but elaborately told. You may write main points from this lecture and make your own note. Thank you very much. Good night. Please subscribe and share it to another candidate. Thank you very much.